Hi, sixth grade. How are you today? I hope you're having a great day, enjoying some of the nice weather we've been having, getting all kinds of caught up on your work. Today, we're going to do some grammar, and I'm going to try to correct my mistake that I did last week where I kind of skipped over a page and assigned you guys pages and didn't go over the right pages, and it was a big mess. But I thank you very much for bearing with me. Teaching like this is confusing, and sometimes my brain is a little bit scrambled. In fact, I've realized I started making typos in emails and stuff, so I need to be more careful and more diligent. Always careful and always diligent. Anyways, sort of tired of teaching this way. I bet you're probably getting kind of tired of learning this way, but we have a few more weeks, so we have to just hang in there. Y'all get to go on break here pretty soon, and we can all kind of rest our brains for a few days and focus on Jesus and celebrate what Jesus did, and hopefully come back next week nice and refreshed. But anyways, today we're going to do grammar. So I want you to go and get out your workbook pages 85 and 86. And I'm so sorry that I skipped over these and never went over the answers. This was actually a really hard lesson. A lot of people struggle with direct objects and indirect objects. And if you're having a hard time with that, it's okay. But you need to learn it. You're going to have to figure it out. So you're going to want to go back and watch some of the videos I posted, the YouTube videos, and also just keep working at it, okay? Don't give up. Let me know if you're like super lost and completely struggling, and I will try to send you some extra help, okay? But the biggest thing to remember is that the direct object answers the question who or what after the verb, and then the indirect object answers the question to whom or to what, okay? Now, it doesn't actually have to in the sentence, because if the word to is in the sentence, then that's a preposition and you have a prepositional phrase on your hands. But if the sentence tells you to whom or to what without actually using the word to, then you've got an indirect object, okay? I know it's sort of tricky, but I believe that you can all get this. You can all handle this, okay? So let's look at page 85. I'm pretty sure I did this one in the video, but I'm going to go over it anyways because it's been a while. In the guide of practice, you're supposed to put parentheses around the prepositional phrases, label the simple subject S, the verb V, direct object DO, indirect object IO. So number one, coach got an S, handed got a V, brother got IO, trophy got DO, and at the ceremony is in parentheses. Number two, in the stands is in parentheses. Eli got an S, sold gets a verb, fans gets an IO, and popcorn gets a DO. Then in number three, cheerleading gets an S, in the red uniform is in parentheses. Gave is the verb, gets a V, mascot gets an IO, and megaphone gets a DO. And then, coach, I'm just going to show you guys my little book. That's what your sentence should look like. Can you see it? Okay. So now let's go to the other page because this one you were supposed to do on your own, okay? So check your answers. Fix your mistakes. If you made a lot of mistakes, go back a couple weeks, watch the videos on indirect objects and direct objects, or just simply try again. And keep in mind, the direct object answers the question whom or what. The direct object, indirect, answers to whom or to what, okay? So in the first part of the independent practice, you're labeling and you're putting parentheses around prepositional phrases. So number one, Andrew tossed Mason his football cleats. Andrew is the subject. You put an S above Andrew. Tossed is the verb. It's an action verb. Tossed what? What did he toss? He tossed his cleats. Cleats is the direct object. That gets a DO. Tossed his cleats to whom? To Mason. So Mason is the IO. Mason gets the IO above him. Okay? Number two, our coach sent the parents a letter about the fundraiser. About is a preposition. So about the fundraiser goes in parentheses. That's your prepositional phrase. The subject here is parents. Nope, I'm in the wrong sentence. Number 2, the subject is coach. Coach sent is the verb. Sent what? What did the coach send? He sent a letter. Letter is the direct object. Who did he send the letter to? The parents. Parents is the indirect object, okay? Number 3, my parents bought themselves 2 tickets to the game. The subject is parents in this case. It's really parents this time. Subject, it gets an S above it. Bought is a verb. What did they buy? They bought tickets. Tickets is your direct object. Put a DO above that. Tickets to whom or to what? In this case, it's a for whom. Themselves. They brought the tickets for themselves. Themselves is your IO. And then to the game is a prepositional phrase because to is a preposition. Okay? Number 4, the weatherman on Channel 2 predicted thunderstorms for tonight's game. On is a preposition. On Channel 2 is a prepositional phrase. Put that in parentheses. For tonight's game. For is a preposition. For tonight's game is a prepositional phrase. Put that in parentheses. All right, so now the subject is weatherman. He gets an S. Then predicted is the verb. He gets a V. Predicted what? Thunderstorms. Thunderstorms is the DO. Predicted thunderstorms to whom or for whom? There is no answer, so there's no IO in this one, okay? All right, so number 5. At the rainy game, my friends brought me a large umbrella. Aren't they nice? All right, so number 5, at is a preposition. At the rainy game is a prepositional phrase. So friends is the subject. Brought is the verb. Brought what? Brought umbrella. Umbrella is the direct object. Brought the umbrella to whom? To me. Me is the indirect object. So umbrella should have a DO above it. Me should have an IO. Number 6, the players tackled their opponents in the mud puddles. In is a preposition. In is a preposition. In the mud puddles is the prepositional phrase, so you should put parentheses around that. Player is the subject. Tackled is the verb. Tackled what? Or whom? Opponents. Opponents is the direct object. That gets the DO. All right, so where are we? Number 7. The announcer in the round booth gave Kaylee the microphone for the national anthem. In is a preposition. In the round booth is your prepositional phrase. That should be in parentheses. For the national anthem. For is also a preposition. So for the national anthem goes in parentheses as well. So now we have the announcer. Announcer is the subject. Gave is the verb. Gave what? Gave microphone. Microphone is the direct object. Gave microphone to whom? To Kaylee. Kaylee is the indirect object. Okay? So now you're diagramming sentences 2, 3, and 7. Now, one of the nice things about diagramming these sentences is that we're not asking you to diagram the prepositional phrases. We haven't done that in diagramming. You're simply diagramming the subject, the verb, the indirect object, and the direct object. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to show you guys what they look like. Now pay attention to where all the lines are. When you're diagramming, you must be very specific with how you do your lines. So the line between the subject and the verb is perpendicular, which means it's straight up and down and crosses the sentence line at a right angle, but it goes through the sentence line. The line before the direct object is simply a perpendicular line that stops at the sentence line. It doesn't go all the way through. The indirect object gets kind of a slanty line and a little ledge to sit on, and that ledge, it goes below the verb. Now, if you were doing prepositional phrases, they get kind of a similar ledge, but they go in a different place. So I want you to keep in mind you have to do this correctly because sentence diagramming is like math and it builds, okay? So I'm going to show you guys what these should look like, and if they're wrong, I want you to erase your answers and fix them, make them right, okay? Let's see if you can see them. All right. Now, if you had the sentences labeled correctly, the diagram is more likely to be correct. If you marked the wrong things for the direct object and indirect object, then your diagram is more likely to be wrong. So I'm holding this up for a minute, but it's getting a little wobbly. So if you need to, you can pause this and fix them. Okay? Now you should have it apply and write. You must always do the apply and write. They want you to write 2 sentences describing a sports game, use an action verb, a direct object, and an indirect object. So I might say something like, let's see, baseball is probably my favorite sport. So I might say that my dad bought me popcorn at the baseball game. So if I did that, dad is the subject, bought is the verb. Bought what? He bought popcorn. That's the direct object. Bought popcorn for who? For me. I'm the indirect object, okay? Now, if you don't know a lot about sports, you can still make a sentence like I just did. It really has nothing to do with the sport. And so you can just imagine that you went to the concession stand or that you got rained on. You don't have to be a sport expert in order to write these sentences, okay? We good? All right. All right, let's move on, because then you have the assignment to do pages 89 and 90, I believe. I hope I'm getting this right and I'm not messing up again. So I'm flipping all the way to 90. Now, this is where you are putting these things all together. So if you were struggling with the indirect objects, then you might have kind of had a problem with this. But I know that I went over page 89 with you, because I remember reading all these sentences. So hopefully you should have them right, because you should have filled them in while I was going over them. I'm going to just real quick run through them. So number 1, cousin is the subject. It gets underlined once. Has refereed is the verb phrase. Has gets underlined twice. Refereed gets underlined twice. Often is the adverb. It gets circled. At our neighborhood football game is in parentheses because it's a prepositional phrase. And on the line, you would write SV as the sentence pattern. Number 2, 13-year-olds may, 13-year-olds is the subject. That's underlined once. May referee gets underlined twice. Not is circled. DO should be written above games. It's the direct object. And then in most states is in parentheses. So on the line, you should have written SVDO. Number 2, Caleb gets underlined once, is gets underlined twice. 1 is the predicate noun. It should have a PN above it. Of the referees is in parentheses. For our next football game is also in parentheses. Then on the line, you should have written SLVPN. Number 4, Alicia is underlined once. Will give, underlined twice. Probably is circled. Emma is the IO, and uniform is the DO. So on the line, you should have written SVIODO. Then number 5, Emma is underlined once. Seems is underlined twice. Excited is the predicate adjective that gets a PA above it, and then about her job should be in parentheses. And on the line, you should have written SLVPA. All right, so now let's look at the ones that you were supposed to do on your own, okay? So this is page 90. So basically, you're just doing more of the same thing. You're just picking apart, labeling the different parts of the sentence, and then using that labeling to then write on the line the sentence pattern. All right, so number 1, Pete's grandmother may never go to another football game. To is a prepositional phrase. To another football game goes in parentheses. The subject is grandmother. She gets underlined once. May go is the verb. Underline those 2 words twice. And then never should be circled. It's an adverb. So, and we don't have any direct objects or anything. So on the line, you should have written SV. Number 2, she is afraid of footballs now. Of is a preposition. So of footballs now is your prepositional phrase. I don't agree with that. It should be of footballs. Now is actually an adverb. Of footballs is the prepositional phrase. I don't know why my book has now included in that. It shouldn't be. Now is an adverb. So you would circle that. Circle the adverb, although it doesn't come between the main verb and the helping verb, so maybe you don't have to circle it. Anyways, she is the subject, underline that once, is twice, afraid, predicate adjective. Your sentence pattern is SLVPA. Number 3, she was hit in the head by a football. In is a preposition. In the head is a prepositional phrase. Put that in parentheses. By is also a preposition. By a football goes in preposition in parentheses. She is a subject. Was hit is your verb. Underline those 2 words twice. Your sentence pattern is SV. Number 4, Maria was a medical worker at the game. At is a preposition. At that game goes in parentheses. Maria is the subject. Underline her once. Was is the verb. Underline that twice. It's a linker. It's linking Maria to worker, which is a predicate noun. So in the line, you should have written SLVPN. Number 5, she could barely calm the older lady after the incident. After is a prepositional preposition, so after the incident is a prepositional phrase. Put that in parentheses. She is the subject. Could calm is your verb. Underline those words twice. Barely is an adverb. I'm having trouble talking. Circle that. And then lady is the direct object. Calm who? Calm lady. So your sentence pattern should be SVDO. Number 6, Pete's grandmother has always given him her support at his games. It's a tricky sentence. I don't really like it. I probably would make you reword that one if you wrote it down. Anyways, grandmother is the subject. Underline that once. Has given is the verb. That should be underlined twice. Always gets circled. It's an adverb. Given what? Given support. That's the direct object. To whom? To him. That's indirect object. At is a preposition. So at his game is in parentheses. So on the line, you would write SVIODO. Number 7, she will probably be afraid of footballs for a long time. Of is a preposition. Of footballs is a prepositional phrase. For is also a preposition. For a long time is also a prepositional phrase. They should both be in parentheses, separate sets of parentheses. She is the subject. Will be is your verb. It's a linking verb. Probably is an adverb. So circle that. Will be is linking she to what? To afraid. Afraid is an adjective. It's predicate adjective. It gets a PA. So your sentence pattern should be SLVPA. Number 8, referees are important people in the game. In is a preposition. It gets in the game is a prepositional phrase. Put parentheses around that one. Referees is your subject. Are is your verb. Are is a linker. It's linking referees to people. People is a noun. So that's a predicate noun. So on the line, you should have written SLVPN. Number 9, the referee should consistently give the players fair calls. No prepositional phrases in this one. Yay! All right. Referees, their subject. Should give is your verb. Underline that twice. Consistently is an adverb, so that should be circled. What are we giving? Calls. Calls is direct object. To whom? To the players. Players is the indirect object. SVIODO. Number 10, players and fans are eager for a well-trained referees. That is true. For is a preposition. So for well-trained referees is our prepositional phrase. Players is your subject. Are is your verb. Oh, fans, I'm sorry. Players and fans are both subject. It's a compound subject. So you should have underlined players once and fans once. Then R is your verb. That's a linker. It's linking players and fans to eager. Eager is an adjective, PA. So in the line, you should have written SLVPA. Okay? And then you're doing your apply and write. Now, I know this has been sort of a long video, so let's hurry up and look at page 91 right quick. This is talking about subject-verb agreement, and I had you guys watch a subject-verb agreement video also. A present tense verb has to agree a number with the simple subject. Your verbs always have to agree a number with the subject, and so a singular subject, it's a singular verb. A plural subject, it's a plural verb, okay? When you have a compound subject, if it's joined by and, it counts as a plural subject. If it's joined by or nor, then the verb agrees with the subject that is closest to it. So we have my teacher and my coach go to church, so it's both of them. Either the owner or an employee closes the door, or it should be either the owner or his employees close the door. So it agrees with whatever subject is closest to it, okay? So let's look at the guide of practice right quick. Number 1, the teams in the National Football League is my favorite. The teams in the National Football League are my favorites. Now this is tricky because the subject is teams. In the National Football League is a prepositional phrase. It doesn't count. It has nothing to do with subject-verb agreement. Teams, that's your subject. So is it teams is or teams are? It's going to be teams are. So you're going to choose the second option. Number 2, the National Football League Hall of Fame attracts many visitors annually. The National Football League Hall of Fame attract many visitors annually. Hall of Fame is your subject, and it should be attracts, so you can choose the first option. Number 3, my dad and his brother visits often. My dad and his brother visit often. Dad and brother are combined. We should use a plural verb, so it's the second option. Number 4, the Packers and the Chiefs play in the Super Bowl. The Packers and the Chiefs plays in the Super Bowl. It's going to be the first one because we have a compound subject. Number 5, the players run up and down the field. The players runs up and down the field. Well, that's an easy one. It's the first one because it just sounds ridiculous. Players run. Number 6, fans and cheerleaders yell. Fans and cheerleaders yells. It's going to be the first one. We have a compound, fans and cheerleaders. We go with yell. Number 7, the quarterback catch the football or the quarterback catches the football. Catches, it's quarterback catches, your second option. Number 8, my favorite team wins by 2 points. My favorite team win by 2 points. It's the first one, team wins. Keep in mind, if you have a prepositional phrase or something between the subject and the verb, you don't count that with subject-verb agreement. You simply have to take those things out in your brain and focus on the subject and the verb. So now you are going to complete page 92 and have a wonderful day.